So this story, my friends, took place on the last day of school. What kind of school, you ask? Well, it was the school of teaching seals to clap and do backflips outside of normal pools. It was a strange thing. And if you could imagine this with me just for a minute, graduation day, they had these seals lined up and they had these caps on. And then they had them clap with their little seal hands. And then they would do backflips. And they would be on this carpet and they would just kind of blubber out. Bloop, 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 bloop. And it was weird. It was a weird thing. While that was the outcome, it was the dream of one man who went to war. And war's never a thing that should be taken lightly. And he's a veteran of war. He actually lived 165 years. One of the oldest people to ever live, ever. It's not even a record known. And that meant that he participated in a few wars. And when he came back, exhausted, tired, spent, drenched in the things that you never want to remember that comes from war, he said to himself, I have to do something that isn't any of this. I got to get away and free my soul. And I want to smile a lot. And so what did he do? As he was a retiree, he saved up and he started the SEAL school. It wasn't like Navy SEALs either, right? Like these are like blubbery SEALs. So, but it was teaching SEAL handlers and SEAL trainers, SEAL Team Sixers. I'm not sure, but they would work together, and SEALs again could clap on command, wear their little head caps, and then do backflips. Strangely enough, part of the training to get to the point where you can actually get to graduation, they had to start these rituals, because how else do you get SEALs to learn to do things they would normally not do, especially outside of the water, right? And so they'd have these rituals. And so one of the rituals was that first they would start with the trainers. The trainers would all show up and they're like, I want to be a SEAL trainer. And some of them were like, I think I could be a Navy SEAL. And he's like, wrong SEAL school, because they looked at his pedigree, right? I'm like, nope. And so he'd get rid of them. They would just immediately be like thrown out of school. But the ones that stayed, he said, this is what you have to do. You have to. And he would bring into the classroom like first day, and he was carrying a bucket, and it was a bucket of sardines, the worst kind of sardines too. And the thing is there's water in the bucket, and he was like a master, right? So he'd reach in and he'd grab a sardine like by the tail, and it'd be like, right? And he'd be like, all right, if you want to be in this class, by the time I'm done with this bucket, everyone has to have caught this sardine I'm about to flick into the air into your mouth, and you have to eat it. And just right then, some people got mortified. They're like, I have no, fuck that. Like, and off they went, right? But you always had a few people that just wanted to know the secret art. Like, by the time you show up and you want to be a SEAL trainer, you know it's a strange fantasy. And so he would have his flickering like sardines, and he would like off into the air. And Billy and Barry and Sherry, they were like running around up on, catching them out of the air. And they were so gross. No one ever wants a wiggling sardine to fly into their mouth. They didn't have to chew them. Most of them just like swallowed them. But it was so gross, wiggling sardines going down the gullet, right? Worst type. And so one day, something strange happened. During this ritual of like onboarding these new SEAL trainers, an actual team of SEALs from the military did some training, and their training exercise had them breaking into the school, and they come running into the school. They kick down the doors, and they see the instructor, and they're like, instructor, we need you. The end of the world is coming, and we don't know what to do. It's a strange alien invasion, and it's somehow strangely aquatic. They have landed into the sea, and these giant nets of things are covering across the waves. They're like meshes of nanomachines, and weird, strange pillars of light were coming. And he's like, okay, I guess I gotta go. And so his students rush out along with him, and the SEAL team takes him out to where this weird thing is happening. That indeed, this weird gray goo is starting to cover the ocean surface. Oven feeling to be very unhappy because you can't surf this stuff, right? And it was undulating. Whoa! And he was like, I can't see it. And these like bursts of light and then like plumes of water would basically vortex reverse coming out of this mesh, right? And he's like, I don't know. And then this mesh entity would then start to fuse itself into what looked like kind of a giant human head. And it had these like orbs for eyes that were deep, and it was spraying ocean water into the ocean like a giant fountain. And he's there on the shore with his you know, like these SEAL members and his class. And the entity says in this deep booming voice,
you are would most likely to succeed.
The trainer looks around. They all look around. What does this mean? And the instructor is like, that's so strange, because he harkened back. He had a flashback in his mind, right? Back to when he was just a young man wanting to go out to the world to see things. And he was voted from his own military academy. The general, and the weird thing is, this is a story from their time, but the general there, he was wearing this hat, and this hat, like, it had these little like almost like sea lion flippers that would come off the sides, and they wiggled a little bit. And he always thought it was a little crazy. No one else seemed to ever notice these like little like wiggly flipper things. And he wrote in this equivalent of his you know, commemoration ceremony that you are going to succeed at great things. And so this 165-year-old man thought about this, looking at this alien entity, and he said, yes, I know now. You are he, and he is they. And somehow they made it they made him capable of living this strangely large and larger than life, elongated human lifespan, because he's way older than everyone. And so he knows in a moment, he does this. Whoa, Miss Kitty's like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, from the seashore and from the school of SEAL trainers, all the SEALs started coming. Like they were coming, and they were coming in huge like masses. And then they were starting to come out of the ocean, and they were doing these backflips and these jumps, and the giant weird space head was looking down at them with his eyes pouring oceans out. And as the ocean, like pillars of water were falling back into the ocean, the SEALs would navigate and swim up into the ocean sockets of this weird space alien head thing. And they would finally their way in there, 10s and 20s and 30s of these sea lion things, hundreds of them perhaps. The things seemed to have no loss for having them. And it became this great, like, just sea of commotion. And the face, its mouth opened, and it laughed. And it laughed with crazy joy. It was like... And with that, it started to spin slowly, and then faster and faster as it spun around, with the waves going everywhere. And then the sea lions would shoot out of this thing, and they were shooting out like giant sea lion torpedoes back into the ocean. And then after that, the head smiled, and then it became small, and it floated over to the 165-year-old commander, the sea lion trainer. And he opened his palm, and then the hand, then the head landed into his hand, and it cackled a little bit, and he said, let's go have some more fun. That was it. What's in the chest, indeed.